Well, welcome back to the unofficial West Brom fan podcast. I'm normally not one for presenting, although I do a little bit of it when I produce audio commentary for Live Score and the FootMob apps, courtesy of GB Vision. But that's just welcoming everybody that is listening and explaining the game in a radio format with nobody answering at the end. Presenting on a podcast, well, that's a totally different animal altogether, as there's somebody at the other end. So I thought I'd give you a break from my constant dulcet tones, and instead of an Albion season review, we'd have a special guest come on and join me and talk about those wonderful Albion memories he has. So here it is, Baggies, a special guest interview with West Brom supporter Dean Walton. Hello everybody, welcome back to the unofficial West Brom fan podcast. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by a man who certainly doesn't need much introduction to a lot of Albion supporters, especially older listeners like me. The younger generation maybe, but this man has been there and done it and got the T-shirt as many times as you can imagine when it comes to supporting West Bromwich Albion. Currently chairman of Warwick Baggies Supporters Club, along with being author of 3 books, Born to be a Baggie, Proud to be a Baggie, and Born to be a Baggie Part 2. And a whole lot more to share when it comes to a wonderful football club. Now, I've got different stories and memories, as you'll probably hear from my future episodes and my history of supporting the club. But this guy has travelled the world following the club. So without further ado, let's get to it, shall we? Dean Walton. First of all, Dean, thanks very much for coming onto the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you amongst company this evening. Just introduce yourself to any Baggies that may not have heard of your historic supporting journey of our football club.
You put me on a pedestal there, Dal. Yeah, well, as my book suggests, Born to be a Baggie, I was born to Albion mad parents, 1960. Was taken up by my dad around the mid-60s, around 1965, I believe, although I'm afraid to say I don't know the first game I went to. I was just taken up and it's all a bit of a blur. And then I'd be taken up by whoever would take me, whether it be my older brother, my dad, my uncle, my next door neighbour. I was just Albion daft, really. And I'd be sat on the wall behind the Bromley Road and just worship Jeff Astle every week. And I've been going ever since.
Great. And who's like your favourite player during that time?
Jeff Astle is my all-time hero. He was, when I first started going mid-60s, in my mind's eye, he scored a hat-trick every week and he was always there standing in front of us. When he scored a goal, he'd run behind the goal and he was there. And I was sat on the wall in awe, basically. And I just worshipped him and still do, to be honest. He's still my all-time Albion hero, and it's nice that in recent years getting to know his wife and his daughters very well.
It must have been a privilege, like growing up, to see what a football team we got. Because obviously, my dad's he's in his mid-60s. He's in his early 70s now, and he tells me all about the glorifying times, and that must have been just great growing up to see Albion as good as that.
Yeah, I think probably the 78-9 team was probably the best team I've ever seen, Albion team. And yeah, Cyril and Cunningham and Brian Robson was probably the best all-round footballer I've ever seen. And I was privileged to see Laurie Cunningham's best ever game and probably the best individual performance I've ever seen in Valencia. I was only 17, first time I'd ever been on a plane, first time I'd ever been out the country. And I went to Valencia to see Albion in the UEFA Cup. And Cunningham sold himself to Real Madrid that night. He was on another planet.
Now that's what I mean. It's growing up and seeing that kind of team. Obviously, we I've been lucky enough to see us in the top flight in the Premier League. But even my dad says you still can't beat the team that was that good. It should have won the league, shouldn't it? That one season
should have won something. We should have finished runners up in the league. It was only because we lost 1-0 in the last game of the season to
Nottingham Forest, wasn't it? Yeah.
Francis. Yeah, otherwise we'd have been second. And then there was the Ipswich semi-final at time, but we should have won the cup that year. We'd knocked out Man United, Derby, Notts Forest, who were all big clubs at the time. And then Ipswich should have been the easiest one.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
dad went to that one.
heartbreak, heartbreak.
Oh yeah, he does. He still now even to this day he still says how we didn't win it that
Wow.
year. But going on to the onto the books that you've done 3 books. I understand. What gave you the inspiration to think I really want to write a book about all of this?
Well, the first one, how it come about, we were in the pub. So that's the best, where the best idea.
Standard,
Yeah.
standard. Yeah.
Standard, yeah, before the home match. And we were reminiscing about our parents. And bear in mind, we're all in our sort of 60s now. It would have been late 50s then. Unfortunately, my parents and my aunts and uncles, none of them are with us any longer. But my dad was forever telling me stories about the old days. He used to run the coaches to the away games in the late 40s and early 50s. And then I'd go to my uncle's houses or weddings or wherever, and they'd always be telling me stories. And I thought, I wish I'd have written it all down or recorded it. I remember a few of the stories, but I couldn't remember all of them. And of course, they've all long since passed away. So there was nobody to verify it now. And then somebody piped up and said, that'll be us. Because we got all our kids with us then. When my kids are season ticket holders, and they'll be saying when we've long since gone, I remember the stories my dad and his mates used to tell us about all the 70s and the 80s and what it was like. It was battlefields, some of the grounds. And somebody said one of us should write all this down. And I thought, I just handed me notice in at work. I'd got a year's notice, and I was stuck in hotel rooms in London night after night. And I thought, right, I'm going to write all this down. So basically, Born to be a Baggy was the first 50 years of me following the Albion. And the first chapter is even before that. The few stories I could remember, what my parents told me, my uncles told me. So that was the inspiration for the first book.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And like, obviously being in those hotels and writing those stories, did you ever think like, you've written it and then you go back and you go, oh, I've missed that. I've got to write something.
Loads happened. Yeah, that is still happening now with it. I mean, we just had a great adventure 3 weeks ago. We took Graham Williams, the best ever captain, basically, lifted the League Cup, lifted the FA Cup. We took him to Finland because we're writing a book about him now called The Skipper.
Oh, fantastic.
Along with three others. And so we've been doing a bit of research. We got in touch with a team in Finland called ROPS, Rovenheim, who play in the Arctic Circle. And they invited him over for a Midsummer's Night's banquet, basically. And he's 86 now. So he asked us to go as his carers. So me and Snark and Norman, we went over, and that would have been another great chapter for the book.
Yeah, it sounds like it would actually. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, it'll go in the Skipper book about Graham Williams.
Yeah,
it'll definitely go in that one. So it's not to be missed out. But yeah, the previous books, as soon as, especially the photographs were on the second one, because the inspiration with that was my dad used to take photos at Albion away games in the early 50s. And I've never been, and I thought, I really want to publish these. They're fantastic. And I used to take a little Instamatic camera to games in the 70s when you weren't allowed to take cameras into football games. There's no phone cameras. But I used to take a little Instamatic and shove it down my trousers, and I've got some gems, real good photos. So
yeah.
That was the basis of the second book. It was a photographic history of Albion fans. Nothing to do with the matches or the games, really. It was all the fans, how the fashions had changed through the years. And I put an appeal out. Loads of photos come back. And then sure enough, as you just said, as soon as it goes off to publishing and yet printed, photos come flooding in. So there could be a follow-up to that someday. Who knows?
Yeah, of course. No, and like talking about the people that you've met, you were just mentioning Graham Williams. I can see from the second book that you've kindly sent me, and I can't wait to get reading it. By the way, when I go on holiday, third book, sorry, I can't wait to get started and get reading that. But the foreword is Carlos Corberán. So how did that one come about?
I asked him, simple as that. I wrote him a nice letter explaining about my previous two books, and said I want to cover the last where my first one left off. It's 9 years, not 10 years really. It's the last 9 years. And I said it includes you coming and breathing fresh life into the club, and would you be kind enough to do a forward for me? And it's weird really, because I drafted something up, as you always have to do for these people who do forwards. But he changed it quite a bit. He obviously took interest in it and put a few sentences in and took it seriously and sent it back to me. So great.
Brilliant. That's great. And what about the other famous people that you've had the chance to rub shoulders with? Is there any it's probably so many, but if you were to look back at the memories that what would you say is probably like your most favourite?
Oh, I presented Pele with my book.
Oh, really?
Probably up there. There's a picture of it in my first book. You weren't allowed to take it. I had an audience with Pele, and you wasn't allowed to take anything in to get signed or anything. So I just shoved my book inside my jacket. And when the photo opportunity came, I said, I got something for you.
Brilliant.
So I've got the photo. It's in the book. You'll find it it's in one of the pages of the latest book. But I've met so many. And unfortunately now, running the Warwick Baggies, we have a special guest. Well, every 2 months we have a meeting in Leamington Spa, and get a former player. And it's been really good getting to know some of my old heroes, if you like Tony Brown and people like this who come along, and it's great. I've met no end of people, to be honest with you. So don't want to bore your listeners.
No, of course not. No, and it's all interesting at the end of the day. It's all Albion related, and that's what it's, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it? We love the football club. We followed them. Everybody's got their own different journey, their own different story, which is why I'm doing this podcast. Really, I mean, I'm literally sort of jumping on the bandwagon of yourself. Really, is that I just thought to myself, I'm in my 40s now. I've got two young kids, and I'd love them to be able to listen to, what I've done. But and that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's all about. It's all about the memories, and I think it's great. I mean, you can remember so much, and this is it. While you can remember it, I think it's key to try and get it out there. Because you just don't know. You just don't know what's around the corner. Do you? And that's the worry, I think, is that at least if you can get it out now, then at least, I mean, I've got 10 or 11 out now, so the kids will be able to listen to how I was young, grew up, and and supported the club, and just the odd little private memory in there. I know, obviously, like you say, it's a very similar thing to what yourself have done, but you've completely bypassed it with where you've been and who you've met, and it's just fantastic. And was that something that you always, like the elder you get, you were just like, starting at a young age, you were just like, oh, I just want to meet these superstars, I want to get, or did it just come naturally?
It come naturally, to be honest, Al. When I was young, probably 1969 to 1973. I had a season ticket in the Alford's Lane paddock. You wouldn't remember this, the old wooden benches, with my mum. Till I was got into my early teens. I really didn't want to go to the games with my mum anymore. Bless her. I wanted to be in the Bromley Road with my mates. She understood. She carried on going. But where our season tickets were the back row of the Alford's Lane paddock, right in front of the away team's dressing rooms. Now, believe it or not, players then used to get off the coach, the away teams, walk along the back of our seats to go to the dressing room.
Wow.
And I'll be honest, my mum was a bit of a football groupie. And these were genuine legends. These were like George Best, Bobby Moore, Bobby Charlton, the proper legends of the game, would be walking past the back of our seats. And I used to collect the old soccer stars, the football stickers and that. In fact, I still do. But so that was an excuse for my mum to collar, you know, Bobby Moore, say, or somebody, or whatever, whoever her favourite player was for that particular team, and say, "Oh, Bobby, could you go and get this autograph from my boy?" You know,
Yeah.
and then off somebody like Bobby Moore would trot into the dressing room, and then 15 minutes later, come back out to give me mum the book back all signed.
Brilliant.
It's unbelievable now. So I suppose that gave me a taste for it. And of course, the Albion players would be milling around all the time, and so I'd be getting Jeff Astle's autograph every week, and Hazer Hartford and Bomber and all the players of that time. And then I'm from Great Bar, and I used to run the Great Bar branch years ago. So that sort of got us in with the players as well. So I've always had an interest in players, particularly the older ones. But gets a bit awkward with the Warwick Baggies meetings, because to me, I'd always get players from the 60s and 70s. My old hero. But obviously, you have to cater for the younger generation as well.
Yes.
I don't know who these people are.
No.
Old bloke.
Yeah.
So I try and mix it up. I try and swing it, but both directions, if you like. And I mean, recently we've had Zoltan Gira flew over, Andy Hunt and Paul Sharner, and we got Paul Robinson. He's the first guest on the 29th of August. So
great.
Most fans remember these sort of players.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. And like you say, when I was doing like the podcast going back to 91, and we had Don Goodman, and because obviously I just about remember it, but I can remember the side like Graham Harvey and players like that. But then, like you say, when you're doing it, you forget. You think, oh, these people they wouldn't even know they were.
Well, they seem recent to me. The people.
I was gonna say, I know what you mean. But it's it's crazy, isn't it? How you just completely forget. You just on a tangent think, and then all of a sudden you realise someone will come up to you and say, "Oh, who was that?" But I suppose, and that's the fun, isn't it? That's the fun of creating these memories and history lessons to the younger generation. Because when I was, like I say, luckily I've got my dad at the moment, and I can just call on him, and you know what I mean. He can tell me all about like when he was going up, and about all the players. So I got a lot of history background off that, and I showed a real interest in it, and obviously when I grew up and got my own heroes, do you know what I mean? And I can remember my dad bumping into Tony Brown one day at Maryhill, and he was completely starstruck. He's just standing there, like, and I said, "Daddy, you're right." And to me, it's just like a normal human, but I knew obviously I knew who he was.
He's the most humble bloke.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew who he was. Of course I did. But like to see my dad like that, and it just shows you, it hits us all. It really hits us all. At the end of the day, they're all like, whoever whenever you follow the team through, generations, then these players are still absolute heroes to you, and we worship them, don't we? And it's great. But going back to your Warwick branch, how did you get involved with that then, Dean? Was that something that
I moved over to Leamington area?
Yeah,
about 25 years ago now.
Right.
And the first thing I did, I noticed there was something called the Warwick Baggies. There was a branch of the Albion Supporters Club. So the first thing I did was join and get to know a few people. We went to the matches every week. Then obviously that Tony Pulis era come along, and that folded, lack of interest, and and then probably just before COVID, actually, it's about 4 years ago now, was it? And me and a couple of lads said we ought to get it going again. I said, well, I've run a branch before. I don't mind fronting it. I'm retired now, so I've got the time to do it, because it does become quite a big job.
I can imagine.
One meeting ends, and then you're trying to get the guests for the next meeting, and publicising it, making sure you get a decent turnout. So we got it going, and it's thriving, to be honest. We average about 100 members a season. get anything at the meetings between, say, 40 and 100, depending on when it is and who the guest is. But they're great nights, really good nights. And we generally, in the past, we've had like Adrian Charles has presented, Richie Anderson, Mary Rhodes, well-known Albion fans have come in and done the presentations. Oh, yeah, good.
Good stuff. And I know I was going to pick something up about your books. I mentioned this in one of my episodes. Brescia away. Yeah. Now I used to buy. I mentioned on the episodes. I used to buy all the season videos. I don't know whether you said it. Did you? Yeah, exactly.
Video tapes in the loft.
Yeah. That's it. I've still got them now, and I'll tell you what. Someday I'm going to get them put on, on DVD. I'm convinced, or whatever it might be. Back then, just so I can watch them again, because I love watching them. I'm lucky because I've got quite a few that I have done, but there's still loads, that I've the old ones that
I did some video footage of that night in Brescia in the snow.
Yes.
Have you seen it? Yeah,
I think I've seen it. Yeah, because there's a Facebook page, isn't there? And I think I saw it on the Facebook. Was it with the players? Am I right in saying?
Yeah, I mean, but there's a video as well. I did a bit of filming at the game because the players come over and there was a snowball fight between them.
That's right. Yes.
It was ridiculous. It should never have been played at all. There was only about 200 people at the game, and there was more Albion fans than Brescia fans. It was just a joke. I mean, they only played it because we'd made the effort to get there.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's a classic bit of film. Look, if you look on YouTube, you'll find it on Google Brescia versus West Brom. But that was another great memory and another chapter in my first book.
Great. And I mean, going on to that game, because as I say, going back to the season videos that you used to watch, that game wasn't on there. I remember very, very fondly. That was probably because they just didn't have the camera footage. Now, I remember Bob Taylor scored the winner. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Can you remember the goal?
Just about. I mean, the ball was getting bigger as it went along the ground because it's getting covered in snow. It was just a farce. The whole game was a farce. Should never have been played. Because we met some Port Vale fans on the way back, and they'd gone all the way to some venue in Italy, and theirs had been called off. Rightly so, it stays there now in the memory bank. I love the Anglo-Italian Cup. I wish they'd bring that back, because we went to Fiorentina as well. We drove to both of them.
Absolutely right, Dean. I thought the Anglo-Italian Cup, there's just something special about it, wasn't it? It was, getting these teams playing. Listen, I know they weren't huge teams, but Fiorentina were. They had Battistuta at the time. Yeah. And I'm guessing would he have played that night?
Battistuta.
Yeah.
He didn't play in the game, but I think he was with them at the time.
I would have thought he would. Yeah, I would have thought he would.
He didn't play in the game.
No, but it was
a great experience.
And of course, we had that brilliant run, didn't we? We had that super run where we almost got to Wembley. Were you there that night at Port Vale?
Port Vale, yeah.
Was you?
Just another of a long string of disappointments. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, and it was such a shame because obviously Taylor equalised, and I remember touched on the episode. And I remember listening to the radio and jumping up and down because I thought, we're going to Wembley, But yeah, it was just a shame. It just wasn't to be, was it? Just on that occasion. I mean, that was a shame. But going on like your Albion memories and memoirs and stuff. And were you literally going home and away every single season? Would you literally not miss a game at all?
No. I go home and away. I go to every home and away game when I can. I love my travelling. I'm often travelling around the world. Yeah. So that takes precedence out. I don't think I could miss an Albion Villa game. Or maybe
Albion Wolves. Yeah.
It's Villa with me. I'm from Great Bar. It's Wolves. I didn't even know Wolverhampton was when I was growing up. It's always been Villa with me. Yeah. So I struggle to miss an Albion Villa game. But apart from that, no, I've never done a full season. I think I missed one game.
Really?
Something like 1980, 81, something like that. I missed one away game.
Yeah.
But I go to every away game when I'm able to, if I'm able to, if I'm in the country. And I'm with a group of lads now. We're all in our 60s. Quite a few of us are retired.
Yeah.
We'll make a night of it. Like we're all staying up Fleetwood in the League Cup
Oh,
overnight.
brilliant.
And it's good. I mean, the football is just a sideshow, to be honest. We have a few beers in the afternoon,
Yeah.
and watch the game, and then so nice not to have to go and jump in your car again and come down the motorway stupid hour of the morning, then have to get to work next morning. It's so nice just to get to the nearest pub and wind down.
Oh, yeah. I can believe that.
Love it.
Of
Love it.
course. Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I remember like going to Newcastle that night when we went to extra time, and there was like a smack on the motorway, and literally we didn't get back till I think it was 4 in the morning or something in the cup. We were beaten 2-1. And I got work the next day, and I lived in Womburn, so I had to drive from Womburn to Oldbury at like basically 6 o'clock. So I had 2 hours sleep. If I probably
been there,
didn't
done
sleep.
that. Yeah.
Oh God!
Too many years I've done that, so it's
Well,
nice now.
Oh, but you know what? I was going to say, like, you still wouldn't change it, would you? It's just,
Not
it's
at all.
just
It's
what you
up
do
there.
for your club.
I say in my first book, I questioned my own sanity once. I was working in Milton Keynes. I was in construction, so I was on a building site in Milton Keynes. We were playing Hartlepool in, when would this have been, 91, Bobby Gould.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen us play Hartlepool at the time. It was the first time we'd played there.
Yeah.
So I found myself on my own, leaving the site, driving up to Hartlepool. And then we were on an away terrace, and the stand along the side had been knocked down, and the wind and the rain. It was bonfire night, 2000 at the game. The wind and the rain was just whipping in from the side, and I'm stood there, and there's water just dripping off my nose. I'm absolutely freezing cold.
Yeah.
Bobby Gould, 0-0. It was 0-0 the game. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And I stood there thinking, is this normal behaviour?
Why am I doing this? Yeah.
Should I be seeing a doctor about this? And a psychiatrist about this? Because then I'd got to get back in my car, soaking wet, freezing cold, and drive back to my digs in Milton Keynes. Again, getting back stupid o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
On the site, 8 o'clock next morning. Ridiculous. But yeah, would I change anything? No, probably wouldn't.
No. I mean, talking about the coldest night, I think the coldest for me, I don't know whether you were there that night, was probably, there's two that spring to mind. We played Wimbledon away at the old, I think it was called the National Hockey Stadium.
That one. I thought you was going before then at Plough Lane as well.
Oh, no. So I went to that one, and we played them around Christmas, and it was so cold.
Yeah, and the scaffolding.
Oh yeah, and they told us, they told the Albion fans. I've mentioned this actually in a previous episode, and they told us basically not to do the boing boing, the tannoy announcer. What a silly thing to say. So within seconds, everyone was just up boinging. Like you say, it was a temporary stand.
Scaffold it was.
Yeah, scaffold. It could have gone at any minute. It really could.
Yeah, that was cold that night. I remember, but Brescia was probably one of the coldest, as I said.
Yeah,
Then, obviously, going back to that Brescia game.
Yeah,
we decided because my mate wanted to call in. No, hang on, I'm getting mixed up with fiance. After Brescia, snow was coming down. It was freezing cold, but we decided to start driving home after. So we're driving back over the Alps, -10 or something, snow hammering down, and windscreen wipers on full blast, and all of a sudden one of my wipers flew off. Of all the things to happen.
All the things, yeah.
Oh, no. So we pulled over and managed to find it, and then it was just a miracle. We drove up the road. There was a 24-hour petrol station open, and there was a mechanic there. And we thought, somebody up there likes us. This is just ridiculous. And he fixed it for us.
Oh, brilliant.
And we thought, this wouldn't happen in England.
No, not at all.
Oh, yeah, that was that night. And that was bloody cold that night. Yeah.
I mean, and that's it, isn't it? The stories that, that we come up with. It's amazing how much it relates to, to West Brom, basically. Yeah. It's crazy. You talk about it's these things that prop up. You talk to people in normal mode, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? And not even think of football. But all of a sudden, it creeps in. And
Yeah.
it makes you think, and that's just, I suppose that's just the love that we have, for our football club.
That's right. I think anybody could write what I've done with a book.
Yeah.
It's just your own memories of it, but it's all around the games.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but life's events
Yes.
are all around.
That's
You know,
right.
someone mentioned
Yeah.
1976. I think, yeah, 1976. Yeah, I was 15, going on 16. We were told and we won promotion.
Yeah.
So you're transported back to that game, and
Yeah.
that's what 1976 means to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, I can still remember what I was doing. It's mad. I can still now ask me, anything, anything that I did yesterday, and you can't remember. You can't remember. But as soon as somebody, says, well, Albion, played so and so, that, and I go, yeah, I know what I was doing that day. I was doing, I was around with mates, or I was, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
As you'll hear in the more stories that I'll be able to tell. There's so much more that because I'll be coming away season ticket holder now
Oh, okay.
from now on. So I think I had it for 11 years, I think it was, or something like that. So I was going
Yeah.
out of the way all the time.
Oh,
So you know what? I probably bumped into you, and
no
probably
wonder we haven't before now.
it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't
So,
surprise me. I mean, I'm quite shy, but like, if somebody come and said, "Oh, hello," I'd be straight in and talk and football,
yeah.
and it just brings it all up. And it's how we all are. We've all got different characters, about us, haven't we? I mean, if it was all the
Yeah.
same, it'd be boring. So I think, that's just how it is, isn't it? It's how life is, and what we have to go by. But yeah, Dean. Well, we're coming towards the end now, but
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you three questions, really quick questions. So, your best Albion manager, your favourite ever player, and your favourite ever Albion match.
Oh, I'll go back to the manager.
Yeah, sure.
No, I won't. I'll tell you who my best ever Albion manager is, and somebody I've got to know in recent years as well, was
Okay.
John Giles. What he did for the club at the time, and as a player manager, his first period, by the way, not the second.
Yeah.
Even though he was then 35 or whatever when we had him from Leeds, he was still the best player on the pitch. And every player you speak to who played with him or he managed all say the same. They all cite him as the best ever manager they've worked with or played with. He was brilliant. So yeah, Johnny Giles would be my favourite ever Albion manager.
Okay.
Second one, favourite match, was it?
Yeah, favourite match. Yep.
I've got to go for the Valencia. Sorry, I've already mentioned it once, but yeah, it was one of those I was there moments, and it's become a legendary game, and it's so many things going for it. My first time abroad, my first flight, and they had Kempes and Bonoff and everybody in the team, and we, after going 1-0 down, we turned it on, and Cunningham was unplayable, and it was just so many memories from that night. So it's got to be that one. Yeah, there's a few close contenders, but certainly that one. And favourite ever player is Jeff Astle. Yeah, easy one to answer. Closely followed by there's a few.
Yeah.
Best all-round player was Brian Robson. Best left back Derek Statham, Cyril Regis up there, Willie Johnston. There's too many to mention, to be honest. But Astle was my boyhood hero. Everybody wanted to be Jeff Astle.
And like touching on Brian Robson there, I just thought my dad was absolutely gutted, when he left for Manchester United, and he still says to this day, he still can't forgive him for leaving for Manchester United. Was that your thoughts as well at the time?
Yeah, I mean, once Atkinson went there, if you go to manage a company, what do? You try and recruit your best staff, don't you?
Of course you do.
Especially staff you know and can trust. I mean, he came in, he tried to sign Cyril as well. So you can't blame him, for but he ripped the guts out of the team, because not only did he take Robson and Moses, he took half the backroom staff with him as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
They even said he took the tea lady, all the right people in the right positions. You can't blame him. That was his new job. So he recruited the best as far as he could see. So, but we never really recovered after that,
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Well, Dean, yeah, we're coming to the end anyway.
All
So no, I wanted to say, thank you very much for your time this evening. Thanks for coming on to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying my little memories that I'm talking about and producing the commentaries. Just a bit of fun at the end of the day. I enjoy doing it, but I just thought if I mix it with the Albion as well and do those games, it just makes it a bit more, a bit
right.
more special, doesn't it, for
Yeah.
supporters? So no, thank you very much, Dean. Been a pleasure.
Well, let me know when it's out, and I'll let the world know.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for your support as well. Yeah, really appreciate that. And yeah, anybody who wants to buy Dean's book, they can, can't they, Dean?
Yeah, it's probably the easiest way just to email me, and I'll post it the next day.
And you can email Dean directly. That's dinothebaggy@gmail.com. dinothebaggy@gmail.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter, or X as it's now known, and that's @nostalgicbaggy, @nostalgicbaggy. My thanks to Dean for taking the time to come on to the podcast. We could have spoke all night, really, but it was lovely to have him on. And that's it for this podcast. So I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone that continues to listen to it and that sends the messages in and the support. Very, very grateful indeed. And so next week, there will be another interview before we go back to the season review. It's with a former West Bromwich Albion player this time. Unfortunately, this player is no longer with us, but so it was done quite a few years ago, but it wasn't released all the way around social media. It went on a couple of platforms, so I thought, why not? Why not put it on here for all Baggies fans to listen to? So you can get yourself ready to listen to that next time when it's released next week. So, but for now, thanks again, and see you soon.